Hi everyone, this is your Algebra 2B 90, Lesson 92, Part B questions. Thank you for those of you that responded and listed in the comment sections the questions that you needed help on. For those of you that have not been doing that, please make sure that you're going through and you're listing your problems because I'm only doing the ones where people are actually asking for help. So if you're not listing your problems, then your questions are probably not getting answered. So, and all of those need to be done by 9 a.m. the day of the questions being answered. So tomorrow by 9 a.m., you would need to have all your questions for 93A posted. Now, we're looking at number 18. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my 4 quadrants. I know that 20 degrees is in quadrant 1 because that's 0, and then this is 90 degrees. So I know that it falls between 0 and 90. This is a 20-degree angle, and the slope is -5. But because our slope is negative, we need to push this through to the opposite quadrant. So now we're going to be in quadrant 3. My slope is going to be 5. My angle is going to be 20. Now for the second one, I'm going to draw my 4 quadrants again. This one has a negative degree, so I'm going to do 0, then -90, then -180, then -270. So I know that -150 falls between 90 and 180, so I'm going to draw a triangle in quadrant 3 as well. The slant is going to be 8, because this number on the outside. This angle right here is going to be the difference between 180 and 150, and that would be 30 degrees. Now you can see both of these are going to the left of the origin, which means that r is going to be negative. I also know that both of these are coming down off the x-axis, so my u is also going to be negative. But now what I need to do is I actually need to evaluate. So I'm going to start with the first one. Remember that for x, you're going to use cosine, and then for y, you're going to use sine. So this would be 5 times cosine of 20. And then for y, it's going to be 5 times sine of 20. For your second one, it's going to be 8 times cosine of 30. And then y is going to be 8 times sine of 30. Now you're going to use your calculators. So remember, it's going to be 5 times 20 cosine equals, so that's going to give me 4 points, so it's 698, which runs to 4.70. Then 5 times 20 sine equals, and that's 1.71. Now over here, I have 8 times 30 cosine equals, and that would be 6.93. 8 times 30 sine equals, and that would be 4.00. Now I already identified that both my r and my u are going to be negative. So my first one, I have negative 4.70 r minus 1.71 u. For my second one, I have negative 6.93 r minus 4.00 u. And now you're going to add those together. So if I do 4.70 plus 6.93, I get negative 11.63 r. And then 1.71 plus 4 gives me 5.71 u. And that would be my answer to number 18. Now moving on to number 19. So number 19 is we're starting this r and u, and then we need to end in this format. So the first thing that I recognize is that r is negative. So in my 4 quadrants, if r is negative, that means it goes to the left of the origin. So that would be to the left 5. And then because u is positive, it comes up off the x-axis. So then my 20 would be the u. We need to solve for my angle, and we also need to solve for my hypotenuse. So I'm going to start with solving for the hypotenuse using Pythagorean theorem. So h squared equals 20 squared plus 5 squared. So 20 squared gives us 400. 5 squared gives me 25. So h squared would be equal to 425. Then we're going to take the square root of that. So 425 divided by 5, and then divided by, 5, would be 5 root 17. So h is going to be equal to 5 square root of 17. Now to solve for my angle. Because 20 is opposite of the angle and 5 is adjacent, we're going to use inverse tangent. And inverse tangent is opposite over adjacent, so that would be 20 over 5. Now in your calculator, it's going to be 20 divided by 5 equals, then second tangent. So my angle is going to be equal to 75.96. But because we're in quadrant 2, we need to subtract this number from 180 because we want to know the distance from 0 degrees to this point. So we would do 180 minus 75.96, which gives us 104.04 when you round. So your answer needs to look like this problem. The slant is going to be 5 root 17, and my angle is going to be 104.04 degrees. And that would be your answer. Now moving on, we're going to look at number 23. So for number 23, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute my x. That only goes to the numerator. So this would be a over by equals x over r1 plus x over r2. But notice that we want to solve for r1. So because this fraction has r1 in it, I'm going to move this one to the other side, which means that I would subtract it from the a over by. So it'd be a over by minus x over r2 equals x over r1. Now I want to add the fractions on the left side, and to do that I'm going to make a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply the a by r2, so that would become a r2, and then I need to multiply the x by by, so minus x by, and that's all going to be over by r2, and that's equal to x over r1. Now what I'm going to do is I have two fractions that equal to each other, so I'm going to cross multiply them. So on the left hand side I'm going to have r1 times ar2 minus xby equals byr2 times x. So I cross multiplied, and we're trying to get this r1 by itself. So all you need to do is divide by what's in parentheses, which means your answer is going to be byr2 x over ar2 minus xby. And that would be your answer. Now we're going to look at number 24, which is similar to the one we just did. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute my x on the right-hand side, leaving the left side as is. So a over by equals x over r1 plus x over r2. Then what I want to do is I actually want to add these fractions on the right-hand side. When I do that, I'm making a common denominator. The left side is going to stay the same at a over by. The right-hand side is going to become x r2 plus x r1 over r1 r2. So I made a common denominator on this side, added those fractions together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross multiply. When I cross multiply, I'm going to get by is going to be multiplied by the xr2 plus xr1, and that's going to be equal to ar1r2. Now I'm trying to get y by itself. So to get y by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by everything that does not have a y in it. So that would be b xr2 plus xr1. And we divide both sides by that. And that would be your answer for what y is equal to. And then lastly, we're going to look at number 30. Number 30 looks like this. If I have two lines that intersect on the outside, I have two angles, two intercepted arcs. When they intersect on the inside, you're going to take half of the sum of the two intercepted arcs. So that means your inside angle x is going to be equal to 1/2 the sum of 120. Now 100 plus 20 would be 120. So half of 120 would be equal to 60. Now the second one is the product of chords theorem. So I'm going to see what shares the chord with the letter y. Well, it's the number 4. And when I say product of chords, that means you multiply them. So that would be 4 times y. And then I'm going to see what shares the chord with 3. Well, 7 does. And I'm going to take the product of that, which would be 3 times 7. Now to get y by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And therefore your answer is going to be y is equal to 21/4. And that concludes your questions that you had on lesson 92B. This lesson officially needs to be turned in by tomorrow. But again, tomorrow you also need to have all of your questions posted on the lesson 93 lesson for 93A. And that's all due by tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I hope you guys all have a great day. Bye.